Good morning and welcome to another session where Kate, Michael and Sally talk about leadership and organizations. And this morning we're joined by a colleague of ours, Rachel, who's an occupational psychologist specializing in this field of organization development and the people aspects of that. And we want to talk about a very specific thing that we've witnessed over the last week. In fact, we've talked about it quite a lot in our sort of casual conversations, that we're seeing organizations going back to work and making big decisions about the nature of what that workspace will look like and how teams will work and how teams will interact. And one of our worries is who's making those decisions and what's the HR perspective on it. I guess part of our experience is that HR has become very, very good at the policies and procedures side of people management, but who's really thinking about it from a people and a cultural perspective? And that opens up, I think, a great discussion. So we're going to talk about that for a while. Sally, can I bring you in first, I guess? What's your perspective on who needs to be sitting at the table to make these decisions?
Well, I think if we go back to this time last year, of course, we were told by government what needed to happen. Those who were on the front line could continue to do their job, key workers. But what we found was a massive shift of over 50% of our workforces being immediately instructed to work from home. And organizations, we were amazed, I was amazed, just stepped up so quickly to actually put in place the technical infrastructure to allow so many people to be able to make that shift. And I was looking in my own diary recently, and it was almost a year to the day that I was starting to use Zoom and MS Teams for the very first time. And you move forward a year and we're already now in this new reality of where using Zoom and engaging with people across the UK and across the world has become quite normal to us. But just in the last week, I've started to have conversations with organizations about transitioning to a different place. And the transition might be for financial reasons, for economic reasons. In some cases, it might be for legal reasons. So there are lots of reasons why organizations are wanting to make that shift again. But they're having all this feedback from the people, from their staff, which is saying, actually, in some cases, we're really comfortable working from home and it's worked for us and we want to carry on doing that. And in some cases, we're missing being together and we're ready to start coming back. But there are implications of that. And, one of the concerns that I have, it would be very easy for organizations to jump to listen immediately to those thoughts and say, oh, so you want to work from home, so we can release that office then. And actually that's, jumping to this is really concerning. So it's great that some organizations are starting to engage with their teams and to ask their views, but actually who will then take the decision? And my concern is it's people focused on contracts and policies rather than the people who are really interested in people and how to facilitate people to work better. And they will be people who work in organizational development type environments. And they need to be involved in helping organizations think through the transition to a new reality.
So Rachel, what are you seeing from the perspective of your clients that you're interacting with in this area of coming back to work and back to the office perspective?
So I've had a number of clients actually who've contacted me either to, as part of sort of one-to-one coaching to talk through their particular situations. So typically a manager might be keen to start introducing their team to, sort of maybe one day a week in the office. And really that's about collaboration, the team. In some cases, people have joined the organization without ever having physically met someone. So what I'm hearing a lot is the idea that there's, the transactional stuff is all happening fine, but the more sort of getting to know people, collaborating, trust is a big thing that people are finding is gradually been eroding, as well as Sally said, the culture. So there's the sort of one-to-one coaching conversations that I'm having on a fairly regular basis for people to look at their individual teams. But I'm also having sort of more kind of facilitated discussions with the senior leadership team. And I think that's important because we also need to be mindful that we don't get into a silo situation where the teams on a sort of team by team basis are coming to some sort of agreement. at the cost of the wider organisation coming together.
Yes. So actually, who's making this decision, and a comprehensive, joined up thinking is what you're really asking for here, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors, and I think this is a real opportunity. It's complicated. I keep likening it to a Rubik's cube. There's so many moving parts that need to be coordinated, but I think it's really worth putting that thought in rather than drifting back to whatever the new normal is going to be.
Without fully, as Sally's saying, without fully thinking out all of the implications.
Yeah.
So, Kate, what are you seeing? What's your personal perspective on this back to work rush that we're seeing?
Well, I'm just listening to what you're saying. It sounds like there's going to be organisations that are just doing what's in front of them and responding to what's needed in the moment. And so they will almost take an iterative approach to this and see how it works out. And as you were just saying, Rachel, there's something about how do we actually help facilitate everyone to think about all of the issues that are going to be needed to be paid attention to. I'm losing my thread. You might have
no, but I mean, but those issues are complex, because we'll have the legal governmental guidelines in one area, and then you've got the individual requirements, because we've tasted freedom, we've tasted working from home, and some of us quite liked it, and some of us loved it. And then you've got the business requirement to maybe save money, but also a business requirement to innovate and to create the social culture. So at the moment, I've got a beautiful Venn diagram with 3 aspects to it, and I'm wondering whether, is there even a 4th aspect to the Venn diagram about the future? I'm not too sure what that could look like. So there's a lot to think about. There's the legal, the guidance, the individual requirements, the business requirements, the long-term issues, not just the immediate, let's save some money and reduce the office space.
But the thing that really matters, if we're thinking about our workforces, what really, really matters is people's intrinsic motivation.
Yes.
We want people to be operating and working in a way that they're really comfortable with, that they enjoy, that they're doing meaningful work in a way that gives them purpose. And what I've witnessed over the last week is so much focus on yellow tape, black tape, one-way systems, mask wearing, windows open, keeping distance, rules. And I absolutely understand why that's important. My big concern is we're not paying as much attention to the things that will really help people move forward and consider new ways of working. But most importantly, figuring out the cultural aspects of identity. How do they feel that they belong when they're in lots of different places, or even when they are together, they're 6 feet apart and mask wearing?
Yes.
How do we get that
What's
back?
the point? What's the point of being in an office 6 feet apart and mask wearing, when actually you can be at home and looking at each other and judging facial reactions over a Zoom conversation?
And I'd add to that, another really important aspect is this idea that we learn from each other. So, people who are just joining the office now, it's really important that, they get that, sort of more subtle feedback from people about how they're doing, that they can see how other people are doing it. But also, the people who've been doing the same thing forever and ever can see junior people join in and learn from new joiners to the office. And I think there's a real danger that's going to be lost, either if we carry on completely virtually, or, as Sally says, if we're sitting 6 feet apart with masks on.
And actually, Sally and I had a conversation about this late last week, that sitting 6 feet apart in an office means that we still need very large office space, because you might reduce the number of people in the office, but they need more physical space. So there is no financial saving. That's a whole different conversation, I guess. So there it is. It's a very complex environment. It's got the personal issues, it's got the organizational issues, it's got the legal aspects and the guidance from government, and we do, the current reality is that although it's coming into the summer, and the summer might be okay, we may well be here for another few years, because we're now seeing potential variations or on the virus which aren't responding to a vaccine. So we could well be back into this situation come the winter. Gosh, what a depressing thought to finish a video on. Let's not finish on that thought. Kate, you've been around organizations for quite a number of years. Do you think we'll do it? Do you think we will create this new reality, this new culture that matches those 3 or 4 competing issues?
Yeah, I do, and I think there won't be one size fits all at all. So when we're asked to, give our advice, what we're noticing in other organisations, a client might ask us. I think it is very much going to need to be tailored to that individual organisation. Yeah,
and planned.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, listen, let's leave it at that for today. Thank you very much for listening. Please comment in the comments, share if you wish, and we'll see you all again next week. Have a great week. Thank you very much.